Hello everyone, TLSG here, and yesterday I had a Phoenix Force video and I told you guys I couldn't really wrap my head around how you could use that in a more destruction heavy deck, especially when paired with something like Nimrod. And today I think we have something kind of close. I'm not fully sold on the Sera in this deck, but the rest I think works phenomenally well. You have the Kitty Pryde, which has some surprising synergy with Phoenix Force. And so if you play Kitty Pryde plus destroy it on turn number 4, on turn number 5 you can use Phoenix Force to bring it back. It will merge with the power that Kitty Pryde had, and then at the end of 5 it's going to pull back into your hand. It will be 1 cost, so it's similar to like a Deadpool. When a Deadpool comes back into your hand, it is going to be that 1 cost. You can use Phoenix Force plus Taskmaster on the last turn to get a surprising burst to be able to drop initiative and position your power as efficiently as possible. Now, you could also do the standard Kitty Pryde into Shuri into Taskmaster line, which is also going to be fairly substantial. And then you have a couple of other alternate playlines. You have the Shuri into Nimrod into Double Destruction, Shuri into Nimrod into Destroyer. We have the wave to cheat out either Nimrod or Sera early, and a lot of ways that you can kind of make some cool playlines happen depending on the opponent's deck, depending on the locations, and those sorts of things. And so today we are going to be taking this into a gold conquest. We are already on our conquest grind, you guys. I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you guys for being here. All right, first up we have Lalo, the first location. He's going to be Gamma Lab. Interesting. And so we could either play a couple of cards there, get some power into that lane early, depending on what kind of deck the opponent is running. Now, we don't have a Shang-Chi in this one because we want to do what we want to do, and we want to do it well with this deck. And so we don't have the Shang-Chi because we are looking to just combo our own cards out. So the Nebula and the Daredevil tells me that this is probably a control heavy build. Now, Professor X could be a potential issue for the deck itself. If we didn't have a Teal'c, we could do Shuri into Nimrod, and I think that's what they're gonna do. I think they're gonna storm a Teal'c. I don't know what. No, they're not. Okay, well, why would they do that? Electro is wild. Are they running a Galactus list? We're going to shuffle our cards now. We get Nimrod back. That's not great. Oof. All right. I say we just do Kitty Pryde here. Next turn, we can do a Nimrod. On turn 6, we can do like a Carnage and maybe a Venom if we top deck it, depending on what they draw. Oh, the Shang-Chi is big. The Shang-Chi is massive. Where does the Electro fit into this deck? I'm so confused by the Electro. Unless it is a Galactus list. Galactus would make an incredible amount of sense. If it is Galactus, they get Galactus in Stark Tower. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what we do from there. Because we could play Nimrod outside of it, but we don't have initiative, so Nimrod won't reveal, so he wouldn't bounce over into Stark Tower, unfortunately. So I think our only potential, maybe hope, is that we do Nimrod into Stark Tower, hope that they didn't draw into their Galactus, and that we can leverage that somehow. We do have Destroyer, so we'll be able to do another 7 here and here. That's not great. We really need something like a Venom. Okay, the Hobgoblin.
All systems go.
It's beatable, right? So where and how do they play? They have the Hobgoblin. This has to be a Destroyer deck, or this has to be a Galactus deck, right? We can't win this lane, so doing Carnage onto Stark Tower is not great. Doing Destroyer here only puts 8 power into a Teal'c, and I don't know that that's going to be enough. But our flip side is 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, leaving Stark Tower very, very weak in the process. You know, if we had if we had a shot, it's going to be Destroyer into Stark Tower, bumping Nimrod into mid. We're going to send it. It is gold. Oh, the Chavez. Ah, shoot. Well. All right. That is not a great way to start gold, my friends. We'll play it a little bit better next time around. I'm very convinced that this is Galactus, so if we can get like a Wolverine, if we can get some of those cards down early, great. But we always have to be on the lookout. for where and how that might come down. The Nebula on 1 again with the Chavez is going to happen more often than you would imagine. Who has initiative here? Do we get the 50-50 flip? They have initiative. Ah, man. If they have Galactus, they throw down Galactus. We can't reveal our card first. That is unfortunate. So we could do Nimrod and Wolverine. Or we could do just Wolverine. I feel like we need to get the Nimrod on the board though, right? We could always just do like a Wolverine and maybe a Shuri. Then we're skipping until turn 5, which feels bad. That's what we're going to do. We don't reveal first, so if they have a Galactus, they just win. Whoa, the Professor X is wild in this economy. Oh, we do have a Jeff. Maybe we double up on the power of Jeff here. Would be pretty big. Otherwise, we're kind of scared. What do we have a chance? How big of a chance do we have of drawing into our Jeff? That would put him at 5. It would stop scaling. Be enough to win off of, but unfortunately that's not going to be huge. We learned our lesson the first time. We're going to retreat out of that one. The first time it was for content. I wanted to have like this big comeback, and the odds just weren't in our favor. The way that the game laid out, it wasn't in our favor. So unfortunately, we may have spent time gathering a silver ticket, and we may lose on the first battle. But we do get our Kitty Pryde first time through here. So we know that we have to look out for the Goblins and the Professor X. So that's the more kind of sneaky Galactus kind of play, which I like. I'm okay with. And TVA comes down, so this may be our biggest shot or opportunity here. Let's go with the Kitty Pryde. We're going to continue the Kitty Pryde over and over. We do have Wolverine plus Kitty next turn, depending on what they play. I don't know if they have any locational changes. So with the Electro, that tells me they're probably leaning away from locational changes. And honestly, we're okay with that. We can go Wolverine plus Kitty Pryde. We can then do Venom plus Kitty Pryde in another lane on next turn. We could always wave here, but I think they get more benefit out of wave. They could always potentially get a Galactus off, and we don't want that to be a threat. They could potentially have a wave. Ooh, okay. The Hobgoblin is big, but it's beatable, right? Maybe. Not really. With Kitty Pryde being a 1 cost, we can't play it over into the left lane, so we would we would have to hope that Wolverine bounces here at 4 power. It's a 50-50. I'm okay with the 50-50 gamble because I think that is the determining factor of if we win here or not. So we'll go with the 50-50. We could also go with just stacking this tall, making sure we win the TVA lane, and then wherever Wolverine bounces, he bounces. But I think they don't have any like really big high power plays. Knowing their deck, it's like a Nebula or an Electro, maybe a Shang-Chi, and so we probably want to keep Venom relatively low in mid, just in case they do Shang-Chi. Okay, so the Electro in the right lane is fine, and then Nebula, Electro, Nebula, and so we do overcome, no matter where Wolverine bounces, we do overcome their power. We get a small chip in their armor. Can we get the 3 sweep? No, we can't get the clean sweep, but that's fine. We will take the 2 cubes where we can. We are down. We're down bad, you guys. We're going to get every little bit that we can to try and stage a comeback. That one was only because of TVA that we were able to successfully win that one. The Daredevil plus the Professor X puts us in a kind of tough spot. A pretty tough spot, actually. We will be able to wave into Sera, but with them running a Galactus and a Professor X lock deck, we have to be very cautious of doing wave, and so I don't know that that's the right play. I would like for it to be, but I don't think it is. We can do Shuri on 4 into Nimrod on 5. If they Professor X lock the same lane, then we should be able to win that one. Oh man, they have the Nebula again. Always lucky with the Nebula. That's unfortunate. So we get Super Flow here. We could do wave into Sera next turn, but I don't think that's the play. I still don't think that's the play. We're just going to do Wolverine here. Next turn, we will do Shuri. Oh, no, we won't do Shuri. The Goblin. Goblin is unfortunate. And so now they're just going to get some huge advantages here. We're gonna skip here. I thought about doing a wave, but I don't know. I don't know if that's the right call. With this, they can now do Galactus into the Superflow on this turn, which is super scary. We can do Shuri into a Phoenix Force, but that's going to take up most of our space because of the Wolverine. We're still in the low stakes rounds. They have a beautiful setup here with the Superflow getting the extra energy, with the Electro having the 6 cost. I can't see us competing with that. So we're going to take the 1 cube. I know that every little bit counts, but we have to play conservative to have a chance here. So we do get the Shuri into Nimrod again. If they ever lose their pace just enough, then we'll have a shot. We'll have a shot of being able to do Shuri Nimrod, and then that spreads a lot of power. We haven't been able to get very much action on Phoenix Force just because of the lack of early game that we've had, but that is okay. Central Park is decent for us. Now, they do have the goblins, which are unfortunate, but Central Park itself is decent. They can't do a Galactus now. Now we just have to worry about goblins and a Professor X lock. I think that's much more manageable. Not having to worry about trying to have 7 power in multiple lanes and just it becomes tough to navigate. We do get Phoenix Force if we're able to destroy a card, but Phoenix Force is going to be very inconsistent because it could just resummon squirrels. So the Shuri into Nimrod play is going to be a little bit better here. Let's skip this turn, see what they do. Electro, okay. They can do a Professor X lock this turn. And if they do it into Grand Central so we don't pull into anything, right? Let's do Shuri into Nimrod. They do have a Shang-Chi that we have to worry about. They Professor X lock this Grand Central lane. I'm fairly certain of it. No? That wouldn't be great. I guess a Goblin would be the best that they could do here. They could Professor X lock Central Park. Yeah, the Goblin is still unfortunately very, very large. We get 12 power. We can't destroy it though, which is super unfortunate. 12 power, and then next turn we can do Taskmaster. We don't have our Destroyer in hand, so that's what we're gonna go with. Ooh. They do go with Spider-Man, so we won't be able to do the Taskmaster unless it pulls in here. The wave pulls in. And they get the Green Goblin as well. Oof. So now that puts us down here. Oh no. That is rough. Alright, the Spider-Man was a little bit too big. And we have ways to spread, it's just everything is really popping for their deck. I'm really like it's frustrating to play into, but I'm really liking a lot of what is going on about their deck. All right, jumping into the next battle. We are down to 2 cubes, so every single one of these could be our last. We finally see Kitty Pryde on 1. Beautiful for us. We have Jeff. We have Wolverine. So maybe we can stage a comeback. It's going to take a 5-game back-to-back. Shuri's Lab is huge. For both Nimrod, Wolverine, their goblins are pretty big in Shuri's Lab, but we do have Carnage to offset those. They also have Professor X. Professor X and Spider-Man are both going to be kind of scary. And the Nexus. Wow. Okay. We do have 1 destruction tool in our Destroyer already. If they Professor X lock it early, though, that becomes a potential issue. We have Jeff that will be able to move over. Ooh. The wave is unfortunate. Do they go with a Professor X lock this turn? If so, we have Jeff, and I'm fairly certain that they don't have Jeff in their build. Let's go Nimrod into Shuri's Lab. They have initiative, so Nimrod may potentially just be gone to the wayside. I also don't think they have a null. I think this is a null-less version. We're gonna null before Galactus, unfortunately. Our Wolverine will bounce over there, but that is... it's okay. Now we have to worry about the Professor X, the Spider-Man play. That's going to make our Kitty Pryde very tough to navigate with. They're not going to have death. They're not going to have death either. Let's do this. If they try and do like a Hobgoblin or an Electro or anything, then we actually have this covered since we don't have initiative. But I think otherwise, the Spider-Man, the Professor X, the Hobgoblin comes down. We now know exactly what we're dealing with, and we're slowly finding ways to break that armor. Not huge ones, but finding ways nonetheless. So now we need 1, 2, 3 more. 3 more of those back to back to back. We need the 4-peat to stay alive here. This is probably one of our more difficult matches, honestly. They have some clog components, they have some lockdown components, and so it's a mixture. And this is not a common meta deck. This is definitely not a common one, but maybe it will be. Maybe it'll become the kind of bounce answer, because it has a lot of ways to deal with and address the massive power that bounce can put out. So Monster comes down in Monster Island. They get a Nebula there early, unfortunately. Project Pegasus. What do we think they have? Do we think they have Galactus? Because they definitely have the lead here. It's so unfortunate. Let's go Sera on the left. We'll do Wolverine on the right. Galactus just becomes... Ooh. Oh yeah, we can't beat that lane. We have the Sera reduction, but we're not going to be able to combat against it. So like if we get a Jeff, there's a possibility, but that is very, very slim. Very slim possibility. Now we get a kind of cool line here. We can always do Kitty Pryde into Venom. Next turn we do have the Shuri. So we could Shuri Professor X or Phoenix Force, it pulls it back in. We have the potential for the Taskmaster play. Let's save the Venom for now, though. I don't want to clog our space too much. The last location is unfortunate for them. They're not going to be able to do anything over there because of the Electro. And so, do they get a Spider-Man off on 5 here, and then we won't be able to play anything. So I guess that could be okay. They have the Shang-Chi, which is unfortunate. Let's do this. We'll then do Destroyer. We'll do Kitty Pryde, Shuri. We'll be able to do Destroyer plus Kitty Pryde, as long as we can play in this middle location. They do get the Gamora off, which is the last card in their deck. I would not have expected the Gamora. This is very, very close to the deck that I ran for Galactus when I didn't have Null. Interesting. Okay. Do they have Shang-Chi? I think that's what we put them on, is do they have Shang-Chi or not? And honestly, does Wolverine bounce out of Morag if we do Destroyer? Nah, we're going to risk it. We need a big power play here to block the Spider-Man. If we draw Jeff, we can still play over into Morag, but that's iffy. That's questionable. So we do still get into Morag. If they have the Shang-Chi, they win. Taskmaster here would have been beautiful had we been able to play it, but we're not going to be able to. The Shang-Chi, I think, is going to be too much, but we'll see. We will lock it in and see. This is for the life. We may still be in this, guys. We're still alive. We need 2 more to make this thing happen. It's a tough one. This is a tough match. Phoenix Force, with their restriction, is not able to shine, unfortunately. Other matches, the Phoenix will be able to rise. This one, not so much. So we waited the full 30 seconds for the opponent. Lalo, I didn't deserve this win. You definitely deserve this one. You played this one better. You did some phenomenal Professor X lock plays, just a lot of restriction against our deck. You definitely deserved this one. You got a little bit of unfortunate locational RNG at the end. I don't know if their phone died, if they got mad and retreated, or if they're just a paid actor helping us promote our video. But either way, Lalo, fantastic game. Let's go ahead and take the win where I didn't think we were going to be able to. And we will jump into battle number 2 with the same deck and see how we do the next time around. Let's go ahead and jump straight in. All right, jumping straight into battle number 2. We are going to be using the same deck, even though last time it did not do very well for us. We're hoping that it does better this time around. Next up, we have Dr. No. And they're running Cosmo, so they're trying to tell us just absolutely not. It's never going to happen. We're going to shut you down early. We do have our Kitty Pryde in our opening hand, which is really good. It also is going to lead them off of our trail a little bit, that we're a traditional like Nimrod deck that also has some spice of Phoenix Force, of Shuri, of Taskmaster, some kind of cool ways to merge the 2 archetypes together. So they have Bast, They're looking at, anytime you see Bast, it's either a Mr. Negative or a bounce. Being what this is, I imagine it's bounce. That is what that is where my head goes right off the bat. So they could have Scarlet Witch, the Cerebro 3. It's not a bounce. It's Cerebro 3. Bast plus Scarlet Witch should always be Cerebro 3. They're gonna have to change this location. I guess they don't have to change this location, right? Bast would go up to 3, and then they could either Valkyrie. They could play their other 3-cost cards there, and they could get some decent reach. Let's go Kitty Pryde, and we're gonna go ahead and do Jeff here. We don't need to let them know that we have the destroyed mechanics. Right now, it just looks like Kitty Pryde, Jeff, like a bounce or just a value, maybe a control heavy build, and we want to surprise them with the fact that we have some destruction mixed in. So we do get Shuri. So if we can get Taskmaster, that would be big. Right now, we're not going to do anything, but we're going to do Wolverine, Kitty Pryde, or right now, we're not going to destroy anything. We are going to get Wolverine prepped. So they do have the Cosmo in Machine World, so that is very telltale of a Cerebro 3. So, and then we get Taskmaster. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. As long as we can drop our initiative here, then I think we're okay. Because we don't want to get hit with a Valkyrie. That would be the worst. We don't want to get hit with Valkyrie or with a Killmonger, actually. They snapped into this. If they do Killmonger, they'll have to do it either here or here. They would probably do it here, bringing them to 2. And so doing just the Shuri feels wrong, but I think that's going to be the right play here. To compete for this location, they would have to change the sewer system. Yeah, I imagine the Killmonger comes down. We're going to do just Shuri, and we'll play it patiently. And we're confident enough, we're going to snap back into that. Maybe we shouldn't be. They have several other lines. They could have a magic as well. Magic in the sewer system would be big. We'll see. We'll see the Killmonger come down. Wasp and magic. That is the line. Okay, that's unfortunate, but we're not going to be stopped by the. Or Shuri's not going to be stopped. They do get both of these to 3, which is big. And so now they have priority, right? Yeah, they took priority back, tying this location, which is phenomenal. We can now do Kitty Pryde. Kitty Pryde and Sera, I don't think is terrible, depending on what we draw next. So we'll be able to do Kitty Pryde, Taskmaster, maybe something else. Let's go ahead and float it into the right lane. We could also like redrop their Cosmo on top of them, but I want the space for the Taskmaster plus Kitty Pryde. We also don't want initiative going into this final round, so I'm going to drop Sera in the left lane. I don't know. That feels wrong. Let's drop Sera into mid. We already have this one locked in. And that's what we'll go with. This is going to be an 18 power. The Invisible Woman is unfortunate. Is it though? So they're hiding the... I assume they're hiding the Killmonger counter. Cosmo to block it. And then this. Maybe? That still may not be enough. The thing with this deck is it can get kind of tough to navigate against pretty quickly. And so we are going to try to stack the 18 here. The 18 here blocked by the Cosmo, so if they have a Killmonger counter, we won't have to worry about it. Also, if this is a Cerebro and they do a Mystique, we're going to block part of that combo. They go with just the Valkyrie in mid, which is perfectly fine. The Cosmo is going to come down, save the day in the right lane in Limbo. We have the Taskmaster giving us an extra 18. If this is, depending on what this is, it's just the Cerebro. Just the Cerebro is not going to be enough. I think they were feigning the fact that they had a Killmonger to take out our Kitty Pryde, but Machine World gave us the tool that we needed in the Cosmo to be safe and sound and not have to worry about that potential line. We also were able to make sure that we didn't have priority going into that last turn well enough that we didn't have to worry about a Valkyrie. And so that is a quick 8 cubes, which is a great kind of offset of what we saw in the first round of our Conquest run. Nimrod does become kind of difficult here because they can always potentially offset it to Valkyrie. And with the Nimrod, we have to leave it lingering on the board early. And so we'll take a look at what the best way to navigate this game is going to be. Monster Metropolis, if their card is the highest there, is tough. And so they'll probably want to change this location or play away from it. Ooh, they changed the right location. Okay. And Nidavellir is not what you're looking for as a as a deck that needs to be 3 power. Now we could do Carnage. We could do Wave. Wave into Nimrod on 3 or on 4. But I don't know if that's worth it. We're going to skip one turn. I'm going to skip and we're going to think about this. They're also thinking whether it's worth it to risk it here. Now with Cerebro 3, they do have some pretty cool tech. They do have some pretty cool counter style cards. So a potential Killmonger, a potential Shang-Chi are all very fantastic. Ooh, and they have the Rhino. So they have the second locational control. They have 3 in their deck. It's going to be Scarlet Witch, Rhino, and then Magic as that last one. Okay. Let's do Wave. I guess we do Wave now. We can do Wave. Then we can do Sera. Oh, we're not going to Wave here. Okay. They Cosmo this location. So if this is their highest power card, then that's fine. We're actually not like in a super great spot here. So if 3 is the highest in Monster Metropolis, it breaks the bonus for the rest of their cards. They do now go with Magic in the right lane. Interesting. So we have our Sera. Can we manipulate priority enough to not have to worry here? We do Destroyer here. It's not a bad line. Destroyer into Monster Metropolis. We could also go Shuri into Nimrod and another Destruction next turn. I almost want to just go with the Destroyer though. That would likely grab us initiative back, which is scary. We could always go with this line. And then next turn we could do the Destroyer. We could go with this if we draw a Venom. If we draw a Venom, we could reuse the Venom, or we could do Phoenix Force to revive Nimrod and then do Venom on top of it. I like the idea of just the Destroyer in mid though. So they do get their Cerebro off. Right now that's just affecting their middle lane. But we are going to break that bonus for them. If we top deck Venom, then the Phoenix Force could have been a really cool line. We do. It's unfortunate. But we can go with the double Destruction now. We can go Nimrod. Ooh, we do have priority. In which case, we'll have to Valkyrie here, right? We could do Taskmaster. Copy the Destroyer, the 18 power from the Destroyer. Then do this. And try and offset what they have here. They could have like a Blade or a 0 or a cheap 7 power, 3 power card. But we'll see. We'll see. Ooh. And with us having priority, they do go 2 left and 1 to the right. Wolverine bounces into the left lane. Okay. They do leave mid alone. Shang-Chi, no Invisible Woman, does bring them over that limit. So the Wasp and the Valkyrie, yeah. Had our Wolverine bounced over into Limbo, we would have been able to win that location. But they do get the 2 cubes off of us. The 8 early into the 2 late. We know everything except for 2 cards in their deck. So I'm assuming those are probably tech cards, but they could also be cheap 3 power cards. But we'll see. We get Phoenix Force off the bat. We have our Carnage. We have our Jeff. We have to really control if we have priority or not, because having a Phoenix Force come down only to be set to 3 anyways is awful. Let's go ahead and go Jeff. Since we have priority, even if they do like a Scarlet Witch to change this location, we can get the power there early. We can move it out later. We will have our Wolverine and our Carnage as well. They do have the Scarlet Witch. Having those, being able to draw into those early is huge. So they lose Bast, we lose Carnage. Could be worse. The last location is Atlantis. We do get our Venom. Let's go ahead and do Wolverine. We'll eventually use Venom to consolidate this right lane. They go with Cosmo into Sokovia. Taskmaster could be pretty big. Let's go ahead and wave into Atlantis. Guess we could always wave on them on the last turn of the game when they typically want to flood like 3 cards. Let's go ahead and save for that. I think they will probably magic here. Or on turn 5, I think they'll magic. But let's save the wave for the last play of the game. We do get Nimrod. We get Nimrod on curve, which is big. We did lose our Carnage, so we only have one way to destroy it. But go Nimrod for now. Next turn, we can always do Venom plus Wave if they do magic this turn. Magic? They do magic. So they have all 3 of their locational control cards in their hand. We're going to have Nimrod. We're not fighting against initiative here, or in this matchup. Instead, we are fighting to make their last turn play as restrictive as possible. And so we're going to do Wave and Venom here. That will bump Nimrod here and here. We will be able to use like a Taskmaster on the last turn to be able to mimic whatever power Venom ends up at, which I think is going to be a decent amount for us. And so they go 2 cards in the left lane. So the Wave the Venom. They won't be able to do Wasp, Valkyrie, just their like Invisible Woman. There's just their big flood on that last turn. They do go Invisible Woman, though. So we don't know what's behind this one. And we get Destroyer. Is Destroyer more beneficial to us than a Taskmaster? The benefit of the Destroyer is that it could move the Nimrods. So it could kind of surprise them with where they end up at. But I like having the big Venom in the right lane. I think we move our Jeff to the left. We go with a Destroyer. Depending on what they played last turn, I think this covers our bases. They can go Valkyrie, they can go Shang-Chi here. They can go Killmonger, which is not going to be enough. And then the Shang-Chi in the left lane. Neither one is going to be able to be enough. We are able to bring home the Cerebro 3 Gold Conquest battle. And so we're going to go ahead and take the 3-round victory. We got pretty fortunate that we were able to take the first one, that big high variance one. And from there, you can play it a little bit slower, more meticulously to try to find your opening. And so we will jump straight into battle number 3 to try and grab the first Infinity ticket for our account for this season. All right, jumping straight into battle number 3 for the potential first Infinity ticket. Now, the first 2 battles did not get very good utilization from Phoenix Force. We just didn't have very many opportunities. We didn't have Kitty Pryde early. That is going to be one of the biggest ways to utilize Phoenix Force, or against the opponents like Yondu. If it destroys your Nimrod, you can bring it back as a bigger Nimrod instead. So the first location is Sinister London, which is going to be great for Kitty Pryde, especially if we get Shuri. We can do Kitty Pryde and Shuri and Taskmaster all into that lane, while still probably being able to drop our initiative. So the next location is nowhere. We're going to go ahead and play Kitty Pryde there, while we try to gather some information about the opponent's deck. So it could be Lockjaw Rotation. It could be like a High Evolutionary. Could be a Control Heavy build, which we've been seeing more of, and if so, locking us out of one of these 2 is kind of unfortunate. But that's okay. We're going to do Jeff. We're going to do Kitty Pryde. If we get the Phoenix Force, then being able to do a Carnage onto the Kitty Pryde and then resummoning it would be huge. It'd be a massive one. The Thor comes down. I'm getting a lot of faint hints of this being a high Evo Lockjaw Rotation deck, which, to be fair, Sinister London is not fantastic for them for that. We could do this number? No. Do we wait 1 turn? No. We could do this number. We could do Kitty Pryde, and we go ahead and do our Carnage. That will send the buffed up Carnage here or here. Either one is fine. Next turn, we can do Phoenix Force, which will come back into our hand as a merged Kitty Pryde. We can play Kitty Pryde. It will come back into our hand as that merged power source. the Abomination is not as common in this style of deck. Interesting. Okay. And so we do keep one Kitty Pryde, but we destroy one Kitty Pryde as well, and that is the only thing we've destroyed. So now we can do Phoenix Force, and then potentially 2 Kitty Prydes. So instead of Taskmaster, we could do 2 of the Phoenix Force Kitty Prydes, maybe? I don't know. I don't know exactly how we're going to navigate that last turn, but it is going to be quite a bit of power for us. Unfortunately, they have a lot of power as well, and I don't know that this overcomes that. So the Thor, the Abomination, if they get a double Mjolnir, that's huge. I guess a single or a double is huge. The Misty Knight comes down. The Evolved Hulk would be really, really big for him here. And so we do merge into the Kitty Pryde. She's going to be 12, pull back into our hand at 14, which in most cases is phenomenal. In this one, I don't know that it quite cuts it with them having Mjolnir. But we do drop initiative from that, which is good. We can do Kitty Pryde, Kitty Pryde, Kitty Pryde. We can make sure that they stack into 2 lanes here, so that maybe with their high variance, it won't. I don't know. If we can win here, then we win the other one. We're going to let this one send out. We have 28, a little over 28 power to slam down. If they have the Evolved Hulk, they're going to have more. And I assume that they probably do. I just want our Pride of Kitties to slam on the board, though. And so the Evolved Hulk is big. 18 power. The Mjolnir comes down. Hopefully the second one goes into nowhere. That would be big, because then we could potentially overcome this. It does go into nowhere. Do we have enough to overcome that? 14, 28, and then 8. Plus the 4. There's a chance here, you guys. Had the Mjolnir popped anywhere else but middle, we would have lost that one. But we take an early lead against the high Evo, what I think is a Lockjaw rotation, but didn't have to do the Lockjaw rotation this game. This is going to be a tough one to overcome. We get the early 2, but this is going to be our final big bad for the Gold Conquest. Their high roll is just so consistent, and without having a Shang-Chi, a Valkyrie, a Shadow King, something to offset those big power plays, it's a lot tougher a lot of the time. So they get Tinker's Workshop here. They probably don't get much value from it, but they might. If they have their Misty Knight, they can do that on 1 and still soak for a really big Evolved Hulk. They get Sunspot, so maybe it's not the Lockjaw rotation, maybe it's just more of a control-heavy, mid-range soak and float style. Onslaught Citadel is very tough for us. That is probably going to be the lane that we avoid, because if they throw even just the Evolved Hulk, the floating power that they get is going to be huge. We're not going to be able to compete against it. Xandar is the last location. We have our Carnage, we have Wolverine, Jeff, all fantastic. Let's go Kitty Pryde plus Wolverine here. Wolverine, when it gets destroyed, does not become one of the potential Phoenix Force targets, because instead of it being destroyed, it basically revives itself. And so it regenerates, and so it's not in that discard or destroyed kind of bucket to be replayed. So they get Misty Knight, and they play it into Onslaught Citadel, interestingly enough. A double destruction with a Nimrod would be pretty cool. So I think instead of doing any kind of destruction here, we're just going to do Jeff. We're going to do Kitty Pryde and Jeff. We have the ability to move him from Onslaught Citadel. They have the Jubilee, so a Lockjaw rotation, but with just a lot lower potential bad flips, maybe? I don't know. They get Doctor Doom, which is going to be massive for them. They are playing it slowly. They're not playing it aggressively. We get Phoenix Force now, so had we destroyed the Kitty Pryde, would have been big, but we unfortunately did not. So we could do this and then resummon. With Taskmaster, we could redo the Venom lane. That's not big. Let's go with the Venom, see where they play. Okay, so Thor, we're not getting any extra information out of this. We will probably retreat out of this one. The Venom lane is very easily beatable, even if we have the Taskmaster to copy the like 14 power Venom that we have. 13 power Venom, excuse me. The rest becomes very, very manageable. We're going to jump out of this one, jump into the next one, see if we can find favorable matches. That's what we're going to need against high Evo, is patience and a little bit of luck for locations or just from their play, from their draws. And so we will jump out of that one. Let's jump over into the next battle and see if we can hold down the Gold Conquest run. So we get our Nimrod and our Destroyer. Both are going to be big. We do have Kitty Pryde as well. So if we can win Asgard, we can probably maybe get either the Shuri line, or potentially get, I guess we already have the Shuri line, the Shuri into Taskmaster line. Potentially Shuri into Nimrod into double destruction might be bigger for us. So they're going to play for Gamma Lab. We can't really do much for that location, unfortunately. If we get a 2-cost here, so a Wolverine, Jeff, Carnage, do we want to fight for that, though? That breaks the potential to do a double destruction on our Nimrod. Since we have Shuri, Nimrod, and a destruction tool, we're just going to do Kitty Pryde and hope for the right draws. We have one way to destroy Nimrod already, which is fantastic. We just need the Venom. We have Destroyer, which is also decent, but oof. It is the lockdown rotation. That's the first time we've seen lockdown rotation. They just have a lower high ceiling, which is interesting. Interesting that they would go with that, but this, we're not going to be able to overcome this. This becomes really, really difficult very, very quickly. So maybe we go Shuri, Nimrod, and then double destruction. We can at least tie that location. All right. Let's go with the Shuri play. We probably lose. Ooh, yeah, they're going to soak. So they'll soak the 3. They'll win Asgard with just 3, which is sad. They get the extra draw. We do get our Venom here. Beautiful, beautiful value. The Nimrod will come down. We can at least tie Gamma Lab. Unless they hit us with a Wasp. They could do. And they could always play the Wasp here as well. Wait, no, they turned the Wasp into the Hulk. Okay, so they snapped into this turn. I think we're all right. They don't have Wasp for the reduction. Abomination is big, Thor's big, but I think we're okay. The double Nimrod is, I think, our saving grace. Venom first, Carnage first. All right, let's go Carnage first and then Venom. An evolved Hulk won't be big enough for them here. Okay, Evolved Hulk in Murder World is big, but we're going to force at least the tie here, so then it comes down to a tiebreaker. I think we should be able to have that one hands down. Maybe. I guess it's kind of close, right? Depending on the math. Okay. They won by 12. They won by 12. We won by like 15 or so. And so we do get the 4 cubes early, making it that much closer. We overcome their 3 Evolved Hulks in mid. They are going to the Lockjaw rotation deck that they haven't rotated anything into. So it's super interesting. I assume that they have to have some kind of affliction to run Abomination. So maybe they have Hazmat as well in their deck. I assume that could potentially be a line. Is the Hazmat? And which would be why they would want to do the Lockjaw rotation. The Abomination could get a little bit easier. So maybe the last 2 cards that we haven't seen are Hazmat and Luke Cage. I don't know if that's the best line for it, but it's a possible line. We got, like, so far in this series for gold, we've gotten 1 solid use of Phoenix Force. So it is definitely more of a, like, in certain matches it gets value, but not every single time. Now, whenever I was testing it on the ladder, I was getting a lot more use out of like the Kitty Pryde resummon, the Wave resummon, and some of those kind of fun lines. But against some of these decks, it's definitely much more rigid, I would say. We don't have a great hand here. I mean, I guess we could top deck Nimrod. That's all we need, really. If we top deck Nimrod, then I think we just win after that. The Abomination is big. I'm still not sold on why the Abomination's in their deck. Unless it's the Affliction style. Oh my god, we top decked the Nimrod. That's lucky, but it's beautiful nonetheless. So Nimrod into a Carnage, into a Venom, so that Venom can consolidate and be a little bit higher than the regular Nimrod, maybe getting the extra reach here. We could also do 2 of them here, so that we can trigger the Wolverine at least once. But I like the idea. I like the idea of doing it here. Okay, so they do have the Jane Foster, so they pull out their Wasp, and that should be the only card that they pull out. So we get Kitty Pryde now. I guess they have Mjolnir as well. Okay, so Destroyer in the left lane could be decent. I don't think that's the play, though. I think this is where we go. Venom's going to keep the power here, so they do... So they throw down their Mjolnir. That's fine. We can overcome that because we'll have this, and we're going to send one more Nimrod back. Middle becomes questionable, but we are going to have 2 Nimrods there. And so if they play their Evolved Hulk for the throne room to have the highest power play there, we should win that one. If they don't, and they just go like a wasp into the throne room, then we should be able to overcome that. So they go with one big bursty play into mid, and so as long as we have something in throne room, we're fine. And so I think this is where we bring home. Ooh, they even go wasp in mid. They go all in into that mid lane. And so we are going to keep the power of the Nimrod in the right location. Not a Phoenix Force game. This one was definitely a Nimrod game. So depending on your opponent against the matches, you can shift those play lines accordingly. But we are going to take down the high evo Lockjaw deck. But overall, I do wish we would have gotten more Phoenix Force triggers. But the one with Kitty Pryde being able to have that double 14 power to throw on the board was enough to kind of set that tone or that tempo for the game in our favor, in our direction. We are going to go ahead and take the 4-round victory in gold with the Nimrod Destroyer Phoenix Force kind of flair. It definitely leans more into the Nimrod side of it. But it has that, if you get Kitty Pryde on one, it has that kind of flex of you can do the Kitty Pryde Taskmaster. You can also do Nimrod. Sera's in there. I'm not sold on her positioning quite yet. You can always use the Sera into like a Phoenix Force resummon plus a Venom on the last turn, or a couple of other ways to navigate that in-game. But overall, we will take it, and that will be our first Infinity ticket for the season. I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to give it a like and a comment down below. And as always, this has been TLSG. Later, guys.